Your mind is an operating system and you are the programmer, a user's guide to debugging mental hazards and optimizing for success. Understanding your dual core architecture. So your mind operates on two distinct but interconnected systems. That is, mastering their functions is the key to performance. Firstly, we have the programmer, that is the conscious and rational thought, where your strategic command, which is your strategic command center, it selects goals, gathers information, forms conclusions, makes insights, and evaluates the data. And this serves as the input to our automatic processor, that is the servo mechanism, a powerful goal-striving mechanism that operates unconsciously or involuntarily. It does not reason; it simply executes based on the data and targets it is given. So the processor's prime directive is execute without question. Your automatic mechanism is fundamentally a goal-striving machine. It does not question or analyzing the data you feed it. It simply processes it and reacts appropriately. It can function as a success mechanism or a failure mechanism. The outcome depends entirely on your input. So if we are feeding in negative attitudes and failure imagery or failure, basically that will cause us to activate failure mechanism. But instead, if we feed it positive goals and true data, then it comes out as success mechanism being activated. Now, the system crash example, the public speaking glitch. So the paralyzing fear of public speaking is a classical example of faulty data input. The processor receives an exaggerated threat assessment. That is like, what if I am not able to speak well? What if I forget the sentences that I have to speak? So that kind of leads to the feeling of embarrassment, right? That leads to a disproportionate and irrational fear response, right? So what is the truth? Rational input is the truth. That is, the consequence is minor, penalty is embarrassment, and threat level is low. That is, rationally, there is no dire consequence for a poor speech. The possible penalty is minor. But what is the faulty input? That is the fear that is causing you to not being able to go up on the stage and perform, like give a speech. That is threat overestimation. Consequence, humiliation, public humiliation. Penalty, disaster, or basically a death sentence. Right? That is the faulty input. Threat level, critical error. I will be humiliated. Everyone will make fun of me. They will judge me. This is a high stakes disaster. That is basically why people have a lot of fear while public speaking. This is because of the faulty input. System output, stage fright, anxiety, choking, a system freeze. So the key takeaway is that the programmer's first job is to feed the processor true facts about the environment. That is, train your mind to give it positive and true thoughts, right? Warning, common malware detected. Dr. Alan Shapiro identified 6 mental hazards that jam the servo mechanism. The first 4 are critical system bugs that have applications far beyond the game of golf where they were first observed. Bug 1 is fear of fear, that is anticipatory anxiety, first T jitters and choking during critical moments. Then we have bug 2, that is losing your cool. So the user who slams the club, throws it, or wraps it around a tree. Bug 3 is getting too up or down, emotional states swinging from euphoria to utter despair based on single data points. So mood swings as well. Bug 4, worrying what others think, dread of embarrassment, sensitivity to ridicule, and feeling constantly judged or humiliated. Case study, the overreaction virus, hazard 3. The habit of overreaction is a step short of manic depressive. It creates a feedback loop that corrupts the entire system. So, system damage report guarantees misery at least half the time, gradually convinces the self image it has no self control, causes others to avoid relationships with the user, and worsens all other hazards. User log entry, wife says, honey, it's just a game. User response, you don't know the first damn thing about golf. The status is irrational overreaction. System diagnosis, this is an irrational overreaction. Today is just today. A mistake is just a mistake, and a game is just a game. Right? So, why brute force patches fail? Attempting to fix these bugs with willpower is a losing proposition. Commands like I will not lose my cool or I will not overreact are ineffective because they do not change the underlying faulty data the processor is acting on. Right? So, strained conscious effort will basically not lead you to any, constructive result. But feeding the self-image dynamic new evidence and a new target would obviously help us. Right? Now, the programmer's manual, 5 core functions for system optimization. Your conscious rational thought has 5 primary jobs. Executing them correctly allows you to debug your system, manage your automatic processor, and steer it towards the outcomes you desire. So firstly is validate the incoming data. Second is form logical conclusions based on the data that has been fed in. Then set the target destination, what you want to achieve, what are your goals. Then curate your thought stream, basically align your thought stream and have a flow of thought that aligns with that thought stream. Then maintain real-time data flow, right? So function 1 is validate all incoming data. That is you can say it ain't necessarily so. So your conscious mind must act as a filter. Examine and analyze the incoming messages like chance remarks, negative suggestions, perceived slights, and consciously reject those that are untrue. You do not have to accept them blindly. The inner dummy coaching session. When somebody tells me something like that, I go into the bathroom, close the door, and scream at my inner dummy. Don't pay attention to that insensitive remark. Do not get upset. Right? So, this is a precursor to installing an automatic mental picture that interrupts overreaction. Then, function 2 is form logical and correct conclusions. So, your system's logic must be sound. Avoid drawing irrational conclusions from limited data. So, logical fallacies to avoid. I failed once in the past, so I will probably fail in the future. Right? That's one fallacy. Then another fallacy is I cannot do that in the absence of any evidence to the contrary. The rational response, however, is the man who was asked if he could play the piano replied, I don't know, I have never tried. This is the only logical conclusion without data. Function 3, set the target, not the obstacle. It is the job of your conscious mind to decide what you want. Select the goals you wish to achieve and concentrate on those rather than on what you do not want, right? So when General Eisenhower was asked what would have happened if the Allied invasion of Italy had failed, he replied, it would have been very bad, but I never allow my mind to think of it in that way. So do not focus on the obstacle, right? Never. Focus on the goal that you have, right? Then function 4, take control of the remote. So most people exercise no control over what thoughts enter their minds. Take control of the remote of your mind. They are like a couch potato whose TV remote battery is dead, watching whatever comes on the station they're stuck on. The problem is TV, radio, casual conversations, social media, and advertising, billboards take control of our thoughts and emotions. The diagnostic tool is carry a notebook for one day and jot down every single thought. Maintain a journal of thoughts. You will see for yourself how little of what you thought you chose to think. You can do better than this. Right? Moving on, function 5, keep your eye on the ball, that is focused on the goal. Pay strict attention to the task at hand and what is going on around you. Have situational awareness as well. These incoming sensory messages keep your automatic processor currently advised to the environment, allowing it to respond spontaneously and effectively. Clarification of roles. Conscious mind's job is to focus on the present reality, not the past, not dwelling on the past or focusing on the future, which is not there. So conscious mind's job is not to create or do the job at hand. Straining to consciously perform a task leads to frustration and freezes the creative mechanism. The programmer's paradox. Set the program, then trust the execution. So first, select the goal, gather information, evaluate, and start the wheel in motion. With trust, execute. Take over execution. Its work is unconscious. You cannot see the wheels turning. Then receive the output. That is the outcome. The results manifest spontaneously. The rule is the programmer is not responsible for the results. We must learn to do our work, act on the best assumptions available, and leave the results to take care of themselves. Only by trusting and acting do we receive the answers. The problem that can't be solved won't be solved. A story. An executive described his company's biggest problem in all its magnitude. Right? So, when asked who was working on solving it, he replied, no one. Why not? Because it cannot be solved. So, too many people believe their problems cannot be solved and their circumstances cannot be improved. As the programmer of your own operating system, you have the tools. Start writing the code to solve your problems in life.